now that his Crippler is level 3, you know, it's longer stun, and the Lich is level 3, that's Nova. The Lich has been level 3 though for a while, but whatever, you know. Shut up. Okay, so after about, I don't know, I think after this batch of A-bombs you should have started getting meat wagons, because, you know, it's, the Night Elf's just overdoing it with Dryads now, like, I don't know, they're, like, really with Undead, you can pretty much pick the time you want to fight with, fight at, though, pretty much, like, as long as your enemy doesn't have a, like, really big advantage over you, like, that's unbelievable advantage, like, you know, a 70 food army versus, like, a 20 food army. Besides that, you can pretty much pick where you, like, pick when you want to fight, you know, because Undead bases, first of all, their main hall attacks and freezes stuff. You have, like, a Nerubian tower usually. If you don't, you can get, like, a million towers up within 10 seconds. So, it's just, you know. So I guess that's why he's taking his time on the meat wagons, you know. If he sees the elf and he doesn't want to fight, worst comes to worst, he'll just waste TP, and that's about it. And it's not like the elf can push on his base with Dryads, because Dryads don't do shit to buildings. So, you know, that's a good idea to go a little more A-bombs, I guess, but, you know. So, alright, he has upgraded his A-bombs 1-1. Now, the upgrades onto the meat wagons, I know for a fact the upgrades on the A-bombs for attack count on the meat wagons, but I do not think that the upgrades for the armor on the A-bombs count as armor on the meat wagons. I'm pretty sure that the meat wagons don't get upgraded armor. And I don't know why, because, you know, no undead ever uses them anyways, so whatever. So here's the Night Elf, like, you know, he's like, you know, mass A-bombs versus my mass Dryads. He's just poking around in his base right now, but he sees Soul Armies there, and he's not going to be doing anything soon, so pretty much the Night Elf has to just, like, post outside of his base and run around the map, look like a dumbass. And he left 3 Dryads, but, oh, okay, there we go. Good job, buddy. Oh, no. Well, alright, there you go. I was going to say he left 3 Dryads, but he finally got them. He left them a while ago, but I was too lazy to say anything. Yes, cry about it. I don't care. Okay. So here comes the meat wagons. Now he's ready to fight. And now we're going to see the dominance of this. So, alright, the Dryads focus down in A-bomb. All he does is has to coil it. You know, and his heroes have Staff of Preservation and Invulnerability scrolls, you know, so it's not like his nukes are going to really do anything to the enemy heroes. You know, Dryads are immune to magic, so that's not going to do shit. So might as well use the coil on the A-bombs, and then whenever he can, just Nova Hero Enforcement Vulnerability potion on there. Alright, now, as you can see, this Panda is really far behind the Undead's army. The Undead should have really, Pant3ra should have really, like, right away, just, turned around, nuked that Panda, and then the Panda's already gone. But if he would have nuked that much sooner and ran back his meat wagons or something, he would have had those meat wagons saved, and there would have been a dead Panda, and then a Beastmaster that TP'd out. Okay, so now he's going after the Expo. Now with Gargs, this would take forever. This is like taking no time at all. And then coil Impale all the wisps, and pretty much all the wisps are gone now. It's pretty much GG. Now he's not getting any advantage out of his Expo, even though he's putting one up by Pant3ra's spawn next to him. That's not going to do any good. And pretty much like all those A-bombs, and if he still had those meat wagons, that Expo would be done for the day. It'd be gone. So that's, you know, if he had a bunch of Gargs right now versus some Dryads still, you know, and he had just a bit of an advantage with Gargs, all that elf player would have to do is just focus a Garg, run back, focus a Garg, run back. You know, it's really hard to run those Gargs back when they're slowed and they have all the poison, all that shit, you know. So this is another reason why this is another advantage that strat has over gold Gargs. And here come his other meat wagons. That's pretty much a game right there for the Dryads. Those meat wagons, just, oh man, they dominate so hard. By the way, Okay, yep. Meat Wagon's armor cannot be upgraded. I just checked that, and I was right, so good game. But their damage is upgraded from the A-bomb's damage, so that's even a better game right there. So, you know, you upgrade your A-bombs, you're upgrading your Meat Wagons too. And it's, you know, it's just really smart to do that. Now, alright, I don't think I went to the Night Elf's point of view on how to beat this, how to do a little better against this strategy. In my opinion, like, bears won't do a thing. Like, if he saw that the undead was going 1 expo, and this is GG right here, by the way. Look how bad he gets owned. Yeah, he gets owned pretty hard. Yep. Those Dryads aren't doing anything. Coil that A-bomb. Nope. Don't coil it, whatever. Anyhow, okay, so if he went bears, they wouldn't do that well. Sure, he has Staff of Preservation, sure he has Rejuvenation, and sure he has Roar, but only a few problems. There's Destroyers, first of all, to counter those bears, so therefore, good game, no Rejuvenation, no Roar. And then we got the Nova, and we got the Impale. So then the bears are slowed, their attack speed's slowed, and they have AoE damage done to them, which, you know, they're pretty big units. You know, they're not small units, so they're not going to die super fast AoE, but, you know, still. And then they have the Impale, and they're going to be stunned, and then I already said the Nova, and I probably said the Impale already, but whatever. So, you know, bears aren't going to do a good job, you know. So if you see 2 lures going up, you know, it's pretty much, and you already have the strategy planned out, you know, you can't switch. It's the one bad thing about undead in general with these 2 strategies is you can't switch them up too easy, because, like, if you decide to go ghoul gargs early on, you know, you're gonna be throwing a crypt ups before tier 2. So if you decide to go this strategy, you're not gonna be throwing up a second crypt before tier 2 or at all. So, you know, you're gonna be having 2 slaughterhouses. So it's either one or the other. You know, you can't really adapt with that. But some ways to counter this, in my opinion, as in the Night Elf's on the Night Elf's point of view, would be if the Night Elf saw, like, now that, I don't know, this strategy is out and everyone sees it, if you see the undead going like 1 crypt and not going up to 2 crypts, you know, you could throw up 1 AO Wind and 1 AO Lore. The worst you can be doing is, you know, if he wants to try to trick you, the worst he could be doing is pumping out gargoyles out of 1 crypt. You're going to be pumping out hippos out of 1 AO Wind, if you have an AO Wind and AO Lore, or you can have 2 AO Winds. I'll go into that later too. And pretty much you have Dryads and hippos versus 1 crypt cargs, which is going to do basically nothing. And maybe later on get some chimeras to counter the A-bombs, which is what I'm going to go into next. The next thing I say with the dual AO Wind, which is, I don't know, seems a little better, is you go dual AO Wind, go to dots, you get them upgraded to master, you get a chimera or 2, and you get some hippos, like 3 hippos. And what you do is the hippos pretty much own the destroyers. Once the destroyers are owned by the hippos, then you just basically cyclone all the A-bombs you can, and the chimeras own the meat wagons up. Now, the meat wagons are going to be doing a fair amount of damage to the dots, and the Nova, Coil, and Impale is going to be doing a pretty hefty damage too to the dots. So you're going to have to be careful of that, but I don't know, AO Wind and AO Lore would definitely be better than 2 AO Lores for Mass Dryads or Bears, because, like I said earlier, that's the Bears isn't really an option versus the Destroyers, which just going to absorb everything, and the Dryads aren't really an option against the meat wagons. But if you had a Chimera back there, you know, if you had some Chimeras, you know, they're pretty much owning the meat wagon, that'd be a lot better. Also, another thing is the Beastmaster, the Night Elf should have waited until, like, the Destroyers already devoured the summons, then summoned out that Hawk, and then ran that Hawk back to the meat wagons to pick up the meat wagons one by one, like you do in Night Elf versus Orc with Grenapult, you know. That'd be a lot better. If, you know, you're probably thinking right now too, you know, well, if I go Chimeras and Hippogriffs, the Undead's just going to switch it up to Fiends, you know, and web those. But the problem is the Undead only has 1 crypt, so he's going to be pumping out 1 Fiend at a time, and he's going to have to be he's gonna have to get the web, and then you're gonna pretty much own him with focus fire because he has no burrow, or he's gonna be not having that many fiends if he has burrow, you know. And all you have to do is get a dust to counter that. So, in all, his anti-air is really not that strong if you have hippos and chims. And don't overdo it with the hippos like you'd be doing against gargs, obviously, because all that the hippos are going to really counter is the destroyers. So, you know, 2 to 3 would be a sufficient amount, and maybe a couple dryads focusing it, or if you had dots, you know, wait until the destroyers are dead, and then, you know, like I said, cycling some stuff and play it from there. But I don't know, in my opinion, that'd be a lot better than massing the hell out of dryads. So, hopefully you guys understand this strategy a little bit more. Hopefully you guys should try it out, because I know really the panda isn't all that imbalanced like a lot of undead players cry about it being imbalanced. It really isn't. Just, you know, you have to, that's one thing I've noticed, if I haven't said that before. You never really see an Asian Gosu complaining about like how imbalanced something is. Like whenever you see an interview with like an Asian Gosu, like they never complain on how imbalanced like a certain hero is or certain races or anything like that. In fact, I've heard a couple say that, you know, they think their own race is the strongest, which is like kind of cool that, you know, they don't like, you know, they say like, as in an interview with SK Zackard, actually, you know, when someone asked him if what you think is imbalanced or whatever, you know, he's like, well, when I lose, it's because I get outplayed, not because of imbalance, which is pretty much true for like 99.999% of the games. Maybe there's like 1 out of a million games that is like pure luck or something, you know, but even with a little bit of luck on the other person's side, if you're the smarter and better player, you're most likely going to pull the game out of your ass. So, you know, you always, like, you just never hear about an Asian ghost talking about that. And, you know, with the American Ghosties, they do a couple interviews. There's a couple Ghosties I've seen, which I won't name any names or anything. I don't want to start a flame fest, but you know, you'll see them like, they'll be like, what's imbalanced, and what do you think is this, and whatever, you know, and you hear him going on, and he's like, oh, my race is so imbalanced, it's so weak as an imbalance. I mean, like, oh my god, it completely needs a buff, like, my units don't do that much damage, there's no way to counter that, and then every other race needs a nerf, they're all too strong. Seriously, like, the weakest race, I swear, I'd be so much better, my record would be so much better if I just like had a buff and like all the other races had a nerf. And so that's pretty much, I don't know, you never hear that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you never hear that from an Asian Gosu. So anyways, much respect to Pant3ra for trying something different, unlike everyone else who just masses the gargs against Elf, and then if Elf knows what they're doing, they just put an AP up at the base, and they get some orbs of venom, and they get their dryads, and it's good game. Or they just mass the hippos, and they get the panda of the drunken haze and the breath of fire, and they upgrade their hippos, and then they get the chims for later on, and it's good game. So, you know, if it's definitely harder to play something against something, you know, if you're not expecting it. Like, trying to come up with an example. So, like, Angry Korea Man, if I'm sure his record would be like so much better if he played on a Smurf on a different server. Like, no one would expect the stupid shit he does. Like, he just does some of the craziest shit, and you're not even expecting it, you know. So you're so used to cookie cutting, like most of us are, that, you know, you're just gonna go with cookie cutter units, and he's gonna think, and he's gonna use his head, and he's gonna counter that, and that's just gonna be game right there. And then, you know, it's just bad stuff. So try something new, kids. Alright, this is going to be a Pant3ra signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this audio, learned something from it, and had fun. So, good game.